Colin Okafor was the name on every billboard in Lagos, founder of Colin Industries, a tech empire that glittered as brightly as the man himself. Handsome, young, and absurdly rich, he wore arrogance like a designer suit. His workers called him the Lion of Lagos, not out of respect but fear. That morning he walked into his glass-walled office, shoes clicking like gunfire. A trembling intern spilled coffee on the marble. "Colin, do you know how much this floor costs? You can't even carry a cup properly?" Intern stammering, "I'm sorry, sir." "Colin, get out of my sight before I fire the entire department." The office froze. No one breathed until he disappeared into his elevator. At night, alone in his mansion at Banana Island, the same coldness echoed. Maids tiptoed, drivers moved like shadows. He stood before a portrait of his late mother, the only woman who'd ever scolded him with love. Her painted eyes seemed to say, "Remember who you are." He looked away. "Kindness doesn't keep you on top," he muttered. Amaka Naji arrived in Lagos with one box, a wrinkled certificate, and dreams larger than the city lights. Her cousin connected her to Mama Ayabo, the head maid at Colin's mansion, who needed extra help. The first day, Amaka's eyes widened at the marble staircase, the golden chandeliers, the fountain that sang in the courtyard. "Work hard, girl," Mama Ayabo whispered. "The Oganobi person way day smile anyhow. Do your job and keep quiet." Amaka nodded. She needed the money, her mother's medicine waited in Enugu. But as she polished the floors and heard Colin shouting at staff for tiny mistakes, her chest tightened. How can one man have everything and still be so empty? She wondered. It happened on a Wednesday morning. Colin, in a rush for a business meeting, stormed down the hallway, phone to ear, mind on millions. Amaka stepped out of a side room carrying a bucket. The collision sent water splashing over his expensive shoes. Silence. Everyone nearby froze. Colin, furious, "Are you blind? Do you know what you've done?" Amaka, nervous but steady, "I'm sorry, sir. It was an accident." Colin, "An accident? You useless village girl." Amaka, meeting his eyes, "I'm not useless, sir. I work to earn my dignity." The words cut through the air like lightning. No one ever spoke back to him. Not even his board of directors. Colin's jaw tightened. For a moment, confusion flickered behind his anger, then he turned sharply and walked away. But that sentence, "I work to earn my dignity," kept echoing in his head long after the meeting ended. By evening the mansion buzzed with whispers. The new girl talked back to Oga Colin. "She still has a job?" Mama Ayabo shook her head. "This one get liver o." Amaka kept her head down, pretending not to hear. Yet every time she passed Colin in the corridor, she felt his eyes on her. He, meanwhile, found himself distracted. Her boldness unsettled him. Her words clung to his mind like perfume. He noticed the quiet devotion of his staff, how they feared him, not loved him. One afternoon he overheard two gardeners murmuring about Amaka's courage. For the first time in years his pride stung. That night he dreamed of his mother's voice again. Even lions must bow to the truth. He woke up restless, staring at his reflection, wondering when his heart had turned to stone. Tund, his loyal driver, fell ill and couldn't report to work. Mama Ayabo asked Amaka to deliver Colin's lunch to the office. When she arrived, she saw the tension that ruled his empire. Employees stiffened as she walked past, whispering, "That's the maid who challenged him." Colin looked up from his desk, surprised but silent. She placed the tray gently and said, "Your food, sir." He only nodded. But when she left, he found a small folded note beside his plate. "Even lions need rest, sir." Colin sat back, reading it twice. A strange warmth crept into his chest, irritation mixed with curiosity, maybe something softer. That evening he stood at his balcony overlooking the Lagos skyline, the city glowing beneath him like scattered gold. For the first time he didn't feel like a king. He felt like a man, tired, lonely, and somehow seen. He whispered into the wind, "Who are you, Amaka Naji?" And deep within him, the Lion of Lagos felt his first quiet heartbeat of change. Rain hammered against the tall glass windows that night. The power flickered, plunging Colin's mansion into darkness. Servants scrambled with candles. Thunder rolled above Banana Island like a warning from the heavens. Amaka, on her way to store cleaning supplies, collided with Colin again in the dim hallway. This time no water spilled, only silence. "Colin, you're still awake?" "Amaka, the storm leaks through the kitchen roof, sir." "I was checking it." "Colin, let the workers handle that." "Amaka, they're scared of lightning." "I'm not." Her calmness intrigued him. He found himself following her to the kitchen, watching as she balanced a bucket under the dripping ceiling. Lightning flashed, painting her face silver. "Colin," softly, "you're not afraid of anything, are you?" "Amaka, I fear God, not men." For a moment, the thunder ceased. He saw something in her eyes: clarity, strength, peace. Things he'd lost long ago. They talked, trapped by the rain. She spoke about Enugu, her late father, her mother's illness. He spoke about his mother, the loneliness behind his wealth, and how success had stolen his sleep. When the lights finally returned, he caught himself smiling. She looked up, startled. "Amaka, sir, you're smiling." "Colin, don't tell anyone." They both laughed quietly, and in that laughter, a wall began to crumble. By morning, Lagos had dried, but new thunder brewed inside the mansion. The maids whispered that Amaka had spent the storm with Colin. By noon, the gossip reached his office. When Colin arrived at work, his board members exchanged smirks. One even joked, "RCO's got a new project in-house." Pride flared in him like fire. That night, when he returned home, Amaka was serving dinner in the dining hall. He slammed his glass down. "Colin, pack your things. You're fired." Amaka, stunned. "Sir?" "Colin, I said get out of my house. Before you start thinking your bold mouth makes you special." Her lips trembled, but she stood tall. "Amaka, if this is about gossip, sir, I'm sorry, you're ashamed of kindness." She turned and walked away, tears glistening but unfallen. When the door closed behind her, silence filled the mansion, heavy, suffocating. Colin ate nothing that night. Every bite tasted like regrets. Weeks passed. Colin threw himself into work, but everything began to unravel. A major contract collapsed after a partner exposed shady dealings by his CFO. The media devoured the scandal. Share prices plunged. For the first time, he saw employees whisper not from fear but pity. Reporters called him the lion who lost his roar. Alone in his mansion, he walked through empty halls that once gleamed with servants and laughter. He found the small folded note Amaka had once left. "Even lions need rest, sir." He pressed it to his chest. "I'm sorry," he whispered into the silence. That night, he dreamed of his mother again. Mother's voice: "Wealth without respect is a cage made of gold." "Colin, I want to change, Mama." "But how?" Voice: "Find the one who saw the man behind the lion." He woke up before dawn, heart pounding, decision clear. He searched for her across Lagos. No one knew where she'd gone. Weeks later, driving through Yaba in an old car, his fleet long sold to pay debts, he saw a small food stand with a faded sign, "Amaka's Kitchen." She stood there, ladling stew for a customer, laughter lighting her face. He stepped out quietly. She turned and froze. "Amaka, Colin?" "Colin, just Colin. No titles left." "Amaka, you look thinner." Colin, half smiling, humbled. "It suits me, right?" She hesitated, then handed him a plate of rice. He sat on a plastic chair beneath the hot afternoon sun. The food was simple, sweet, peppery, human. "Colin, I came to say I'm sorry. I was blind. I fired you for making me feel what I'd forgotten: respect." "Amaka, and now?" "Colin, now I see that money can buy mansions, not peace. I want to build something that matters, with you if you'll let me." Her eyes softened. "You don't need me to build, Colin. You need to serve." He nodded. "Then I'll start by serving others." From that day they worked together. She cooked meals for children in nearby slums. He used the last of his savings to fund a feeding program. The city that once feared his roar began to whisper his new name: the lion who kneels. 2 years later, Lagos woke to a new kind of headlines. Billionaire turned philanthropist opens Amaka Dignity Foundation. At the launch, reporters gathered under bright lights. Colin stood beside Amaka, dressed simply, humility glowing in his eyes. Reporter: "Mr. Okafor, people say love changed you. Is that true?" Colin, smiling at Amaka: "Love didn't change me. Respect did. She only taught me what it looked like." The audience applauded. Later, as the sun dipped behind the lagoon, Colin and Amaka walked through the garden of the new children's home they had built. "Colin, do you ever miss the old mansion?" Amaka: "No. This place is richer. It's filled with hearts, not mirrors." He laughed softly, gazing at the skyline. "Funny how Lagos never changes, but people do." She looked at him, her voice gentle. "That's because people finally learn to listen, to something deeper than noise." He reached for her hand. Together they stood watching the city glow. And somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled, no longer a roar of anger but a whisper of blessing. Moral of the story. Pride builds walls, humility opens doors. Even lions bow when love teaches them to kneel. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this story. Please subscribe for more stories.